The year 1492 marked a turning point in world history. Christopher Columbus, funded by Spain, sailed west across the Atlantic. He aimed to find a new trade route to Asia. Instead, he landed in the Caribbean, marking the beginning of European exploration and colonization of the Americas. Spain quickly established itself as the dominant power in the New World. They sought gold, silver, and other riches. Spanish conquistadors, driven by a thirst for wealth and power, conquered vast empires in Mexico and South America. Portugal, Spain's neighbor and rival, also joined the race for colonies. They established a foothold in Brazil, a land rich in natural resources. The Treaty of Tordesillas, signed in 1494, divided the New World between Spain and Portugal. This treaty granted Spain control over most of the Americas, while Portugal received lands in Africa and the eastern part of South America. The early decades of colonization were marked by brutality and exploitation. European diseases decimated indigenous populations, who had no immunity to smallpox, measles, and other illnesses. Millions died, weakening resistance to European encroachment. The introduction of new crops and livestock from Europe transformed the American landscape. European settlers brought with them horses, cattle, pigs, and sheep, which had a profound impact on the environment and indigenous ways of life. The arrival of Europeans also brought about the transatlantic slave trade. Millions of Africans were forcibly transported to the Americas as laborers, their lives forever altered by the insatiable demand for labor on colonial plantations. This tragic chapter in human history would have long-lasting consequences. While Spain and Portugal dominated the early years of colonization, other European powers soon sought their own piece of the New World. England, eager to challenge Spanish supremacy, made several attempts to establish colonies in North America. In 1585, Sir Walter Raleigh sponsored an expedition to Roanoke Island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. However, the colony mysteriously vanished, leaving behind only the word Croatoan carved into a tree. In 1607, the English established their first permanent settlement in North America at Jamestown, Virginia. The colonists faced numerous hardships, including disease, starvation, and conflict with the Powhatan Confederacy, a powerful alliance of Algonquin-speaking tribes. Despite these challenges, Jamestown survived, thanks in part to the cultivation of tobacco, which became a lucrative cash crop. Further north, a group of English Puritans, seeking religious freedom, established the Plymouth Colony in 1620. These pilgrims, as they came to be known, faced a harsh winter upon their arrival, but were aided by the Wampanoag tribe, who taught them how to cultivate the land and survive in the New England wilderness. The Pilgrims' story, particularly the first Thanksgiving feast they shared with the Wampanoag, became an enduring part of American folklore. While the English focused on establishing permanent settlements along the Atlantic coast, the French and Dutch took a different approach to colonization. The French, arriving in the early 17th century, established a vast fur trading empire in present-day Canada. Samuel de Champlain, a skilled explorer and diplomat, founded Quebec City in 1608, which became a major center for the fur trade. Unlike the Spanish and English, the French sought to build relationships with indigenous peoples, relying on them as trading partners and allies. French traders and missionaries learned indigenous languages, adopted their customs, and often intermarried with indigenous women. This approach, while not without its conflicts, fostered a more cooperative relationship between the French and many indigenous groups. The Dutch, meanwhile, established a trading post at New Amsterdam on Manhattan Island in 1624. The Dutch West India Company, a powerful trading company, controlled New Netherland, which encompassed parts of present-day New York, New Jersey, Delaware, and Connecticut. The Dutch were primarily interested in trade, and they established a thriving commercial center in New Amsterdam, attracting settlers from various parts of Europe. By the mid-17th century, the eastern coast of North America was a patchwork of European colonies. Each colonial power had its own distinct culture, economic system, and relationship with indigenous peoples. The Spanish, with their vast empire in the south, sought to convert indigenous populations to Christianity and exploit their labor. The English, driven by a combination of economic opportunity and religious freedom, established colonies that were more focused on agriculture and permanent settlement. The French, with their emphasis on the fur trade, cultivated alliances with indigenous peoples, while the Dutch, driven by commerce, established a diverse and tolerant society in New Netherland. These early colonial encounters had a profound and lasting impact on North America. European diseases, warfare, and displacement decimated indigenous populations, while the introduction of new crops, livestock, and technologies transformed the environment and indigenous ways of life. The transatlantic slave trade, which brought millions of Africans to the Americas in chains, created a brutal system of chattel slavery that would shape the social, economic, and political landscape of North America for centuries to come. The competition for land, resources, and power among European powers would lead to a series of wars and conflicts, culminating in the American Revolution and the eventual independence of the United States. The legacy of colonialism continues to shape North America today, influencing everything from demographics and language to politics and culture.